Well, it's been a while since we've seen you in action. It was a hell of a fight the last time out.
Thank you.
Give us an idea. What have you been up to since then?
Well, a lot of training. This was a really long camp, so I was trying not to get ahead of myself because I was, I've been wanting to get back in the cage. It was like, is it gonna be August? Is it gonna be September? And they're like, it just kept pushing back and back. So I've just been, trying to sharpen all the tools and fix mistakes and, just be a better me. So I really focused on the aspect of like finishing and just being more confident. So
as you said, kind of a lengthy layoff, but was that so that wasn't self-imposed? You were just kind of sitting around waiting on the call?
No, man, I love to fight. I mean, I think if you've watched any of my fights, you can see that no matter what, win, lose, or draw, I love to fight. So I want to get back in as much as possible. And it's not always, it's a deep division now, so you have to win and you look good doing it. So I've been just getting better. So that's the only thing you can do when you have that long layoff.
Curious what you took out of your last fight, because it was a good fight, but when you're facing a specialist like that, I don't know if there's as many lessons as when you're facing more well-rounded. I mean, is it just I got to go work on jiu-jitsu, or like
No, at the end of the day, a lot of people don't know this. I am a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I won Worlds as a white belt, got third as a blue belt. Didn't get to compete at Worlds as a purple belt because I was on the show. So I actively compete in jiu-jitsu. So I wasn't worried being on the ground with her. I actually, for the first time ever, watched the fight today with the commentating. So I was like in the mode. I'm like, Ashley, why'd you do that? But it's just, it takes you back, and it's like, yeah, I made mistakes, but at the same time, I didn't get finished, So if you watch that fight all the way to the end, the choke was not there. I got out of the choke. So that's something, you just, the little victories, you just have to kind of dwell on and give that your self-confidence, like, hey, I've been working a lot of jiu-jitsu, a lot of no-gi in this camp. So yeah, I'm excited.
Out of curiosity, why did you pick today to watch the fight? Why?
It's so random. It was really random. I've been training with one of my best friends from the show, JJ Aldrich, and I don't know. It was so funny because I don't even know how it got brought up, but we ended up watching it, and I was like, in my onesie, like, I was getting sweaty. I was like, oh, Ashley, why'd you do this? Like, and that fight is crazy because, there was a lot of significant strikes landed on my part, and I didn't realize how many. And they kept saying, she landed more significant. I get cut all the time, so I think that kind of took a part of like maybe looking like she had more significant strikes. But I mean, she threw some bombs at me, and I handled it like a real face can, didn't even faze me. So
no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, the results are what they are. I mean, obviously you understand the losses, but you face some top level competition. So I mean, give me an idea kind of how you're feeling. I mean, do you think about pressure, about job, about roster spot? I mean, do you think about that, or do you think, listen, I've shown pretty well for myself in these matchups?
Well, you look at my last 3 fights. I fought Justine Kish, and if you know anything about women's fighting, she is a bad mama jamma in Muay Thai, and I stood toe and toe with her. So that was, people want to talk about how great Mackenzie was. You have to look at these girls striking and how well-rounded these girls and how long these girls have experienced. I had Angela Hill, who was a professional kickboxer, which I did not know until after I fought her, and stood toe-to-toe with her too. So, at the end of the day, it's like the pressure's always been there. UFC could cut me after my first fight. They didn't have to sign me, so, but I do keep coming back, and that pressure is always going to be there, but my focus is on performance, being a better Ashley, and just really showing a good show for the fans, because really that's what it's about.
That's what matters. Yeah. How did this matchup come together? Obviously of an opponent that you're familiar with. I mean, was this a fight that you always saw coming, or that was surprising? How did this come together?
I was just asked, and the same way with Mackenzie, actually when they asked me about Mackenzie, I thought it was a joke. I was like, she got signed? For real? Like, I didn't know, like, I really thought it was a joke. So, I never get to pick my opponents. I take whoever they give me, and, I just try to get the best Ashley out of that. So I never thought, me and ABC would be matched up. It makes sense, looking at, we're both coming off a loss against Mackenzie. We're both on tough, and, I think stylistically it's going to match up well for an intense fight. So I think it's a smart move, and, I'm excited to step in the ring with ABC. So.
You spent a lot of time out here. Was that just taking the altitude seriously, or was it the opportunity to come train with some of the people you did out here? Why the decision to come out here early?
I came out a couple, when JJ fought Taylor when she was in camp. I came out for a weekend, and the altitude killed me. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I was gonna cry. I got a bloody nose. Like, it was just super intense for me. You know, California is pretty much sea level. So as soon as I found out it was Denver, and my best friend lives here, I was like, hey girl, I'm coming out. We're gonna train. We're gonna get me ready. And it just seemed right. I was already comfortable with their team, and I'm really, really confident and comfortable with JJ. So it was the right move for the altitude, and getting that extra confidence with some girls my size. So
I'm interested because, I mean, you'll obviously fight anybody. I mean, you fight, like you said, top level competition, but knowing the experience you had here in Denver, when they said, and we want you to fight in Denver, was that a concern? Did you think like, hey, maybe we shouldn't take this fight because I didn't do so well last time I was there?
No, you know, I knew as soon as we got signed, and it was so far out. It was like, what, a 12-week, 13-week camp. I looked into everything, you know, the altitude tents, you know, I literally, the day that I got asked, I called JJ. She was in LA, literally fight day, and I was like, hey, I don't want to like disturb you on fight day, but I got to make sure this is going to be a go, you know. So she was the first one to know. So yeah, definitely the altitude is something I took super serious, but you know, at the end of the day, like, I get to fight. So, and the UFC on the 25th anniversary, I'm pumped. So I'm excited.
Pretty cool. Talk about the matchup itself. I mean, as you said, an opponent that you're familiar with. Stylistically, how do you feel you do match up? Because as you said, on paper, it looks like it could be a lot of fun, but how do you think you match up?
You know, I definitely have the reach on most of the girls in our weight class, so I have pretty long arms, but I think, you know, her being a boxer, me being and she has ground too, so I think it will be good for an MMA fight. It could go to the ground and we're both competitive. We can go stand up and it's going to be a competitive fight, but you know, I always want to just have respect for my opponent, but you know, I'm definitely a different fighter than I was when I fought Mackenzie. So
I feel like every fight in the UFC is a must-win, right? I mean, you kind of have to. Like you said, you got to put on a show. That's what it's about. But I mean, is there any just little extra something on your back of like, it's got to get done this time?
No, you know, for me, I want to prove it to myself. I know my potential's there, and just slowly just getting that confidence and, you know, showing my team, like, it's not just me, it's the people behind me that have taught me along the way and pushed me and had faith in me, because let's be real, like, I could have been cut after the first one, and I've grown each fight. So I don't think that pressure of like losing it. I think I'm just getting momentum, and hopefully this will be my breakthrough. Nice. Well, with the lessons that you've learned and the things you've implemented, what do you think we see? How does this thing go down? What happens? Man, I know they always ask me that. I don't like saying how I think it's going to be happening, because you literally don't know. Like, I could go out there and be like, this is it. I don't know. I think it's going to be, I know it's going to be bloody. I can tell you that for sure. So I'm excited about that. And then other than that, you know, I just hope that I come out with a finish and not go to the judges. So I will say that.